Good evening, viewers. You're watching Sansad Television with me, Rashika Gangwani, and this is the news, your one stop for all the important stories of the day, be it national or international, including business, sports, and much more. But first up, the headlines of the day. World looking to India for solutions to challenges to global peace. At G2 Connect 2022 summit, Prime Minister Modi asserts that country is moving ahead to realize its full potential. Mysterious death of BJP worker prompts Union Minister Amit Shah to cancel all welcome events in Kolkata. Home Ministry tells state government to submit a report. 1,537 projects worth rupees 6.5 lakh crore identified under Sagarmala program. 802 projects to be completed by 2035. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu underscores need to make quality education affordable and accessible. Calls for efforts to tap creativity, energies of youth at 69th convocation of Punjab University. Portals of Kedarnath temple open to devotees. Temple lavishly decorated with 9 quintals of flowers on the occasion. Now let's take a quick look at some of the important news in our flash segment. India has a systematic data pool and does not need to rely on modelling. Extrapolations and press reports to ascertain COVID deaths, asserts ICMR DG. UGC extends last date till May 22 for submission of application for Common University Entrance Test 2022. India committed to ensuring accessibility and affordability of vaccines for all, says Dr. Jitendra Singh. Delhi High Court dismisses petition of students challenging offline exams of Delhi University. Once declared Indian, person can't be tried again and pronounced a foreigner, rules Guwahati High Court. Allahabad High Court dismisses petition. Says use of loudspeaker from a mosque is not a fundamental right. Union Minister PIYUSH Goyal asked Indian project exporters to explore markets in the developed world. US drug regulator restricts use of Johnson & Johnson's anti-COVID-19 vaccine due to serious risk of blood clots. Vaccine now only allowed for adults. Rising cases of COVID prompts China to postpone September Asian Games. Sri Lankan trade union calls for nationwide strike to demand resignation of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and his government. Be it world peace, global prosperity or modern-day challenges, the world is looking to India for solution, asserted Prime Minister Modi on Friday. The Prime Minister was addressing the inaugural session of G2 Connect 2022 summit, organized by the Jain International Trade Organization through video conference. Underlining the mantra of vocal for local, the Prime Minister said Indians should not become slaves of foreign goods at a time when the country is celebrating 75 years of independence. He said everyone now knows that India is moving ahead with great energy towards achieving the bigger goal of global welfare.
जब सरकार में इच्छा शक्ति होती है और जनता जनार्दन का साथ होता है, सबका प्रयास की भावना प्रबल होती है, तो बदलाव को कोई रोक नहीं सकता है। बदलाव संभव होता है और वो बदलाव आज हम देख भी रहे हैं, अनुभव भी कर रहे हैं।
Wrong economic policies, corrupt governance and short-sighted leadership saddled India with huge losses after independence, says Union Minister Nitin Gadkari on Friday. He was addressing the G2 Connect 2022 summit. Gadkari underlined the need to reduce imports and increase exports. He said under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's leadership, people are now taking now talking of a self-reliant, happy, prosperous and powerful India.
हमारे आर्थिक विकास में sky is the limit. We are a rich nation with a poor population. 47 के बाद wrong economic policies, bad and corrupt governance and visionless leadership में हमारा बहुत नुकसान हुआ. अब मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में हम आत्मनिर्भर भारत की बात कर रहे हैं.
Now news from across the nation. 3 Hizb ul-Mujahideen terrorists were killed in an encounter with security forces in Jammu and Kashmir's Anantnag district. Security forces had launched search operations for the terrorists in the area after getting intelligence inputs about their presence in the area. The Punjab police arrested BJP's Delhi unit spokesperson Tejinder Pal Singh Bagga from his residence in the city. The Aam Aadmi Party claimed that Bagga was arrested on charges of trying to incite communal tension and violence in the state. The Finance Ministry released the second monthly installment of the post-devolution revenue deficit grant of Rs 7,000 crore to 14 states. This takes total amount released to the states to Rs 14,366 crore. The grants were recommended by the 15th Finance Commission. The Supreme Court has transferred the Centre-Delhi dispute over the control of administrative services in the national capital to 5-judge Constitution Bench. The bench said the Constitution Bench has considered all the issues in the matter except the control over the services. Italian Foreign Minister Luigi Di Maio called on External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar on Friday. Bilateral relations including trade, investment, defense, security, green energy were discussed by the two leaders. They also considered growing cooperation in cybersecurity, science and technology and space. The Ukraine conflict and its impact, COVID and the Indo-Pacific region were other topics that were discussed. 3,545 new cases of COVID-19 have been reported in the last 24 hours. Patients under treatment from 0.05% of the total cases, while the recovery rate at the national level is 98.74%. The daily infection rate is 0.76% and the weekly infection rate is 0.79%. A low-pressure area over the Bay of Bengal is likely to deepen further into a cyclone by Sunday. The Meteorological Center in Bhubaneswar said it is likely to reach West Central Bay of Bengal by May 10th. Passing through Andhra Pradesh and Odisha. Quiz and poetry recitation competition was organized by the Rajya Sabha Secretariat for Children at the Parliament complex on Friday. Children of employees and officers of Rajya Sabha Secretariat took part in the competition. On 10th May, Rajya Sabha Chairman M. Venkaiah Naidu will felicitate the winners. The centre has identified 567 new projects under the Sagarmala program for the overall development of coastal districts. Together, they will cost Rs 58,700 crore. The National Sagarmala Apex Committee reviewed the project at a meeting in Delhi under the chairmanship of Union Minister Sarbanand Sonowal. Sonowal said that after discussion with the stakeholders, the ministry has identified 567 projects. Work is underway on 802 projects costing Rs 5.5 lakh crore, which are expected to be completed by 2035. The government has so far identified 1,537 projects worth Rs 6.5 lakh crore under the program. Sonowal said the Sagarmala program had reduced the time taken for availability of containers at major ports. He said the project has given significant impetus to economic progress in coastal areas in the last 7 years. Union Ministers Nitin Gadkari, PIYUSH Goyal, Jyotiraditya Scindia and Ashwani Vaishnav were also present in the committee meeting.
Every bit of expansion of the shipping industry, the port sector and the overall modernization of this sector straight away leads to cost of logistics coming down, the turnaround time becoming more efficient, and will have a direct impact on India's international trade.
The Union Home Ministry has taken cognizance of the murder of a BJP worker in Kashipur, West Bengal. It has called for a report on the incident from the West Bengal government. The incident prompted Union Minister Amit Shah, who is in West Bengal on a 2-day tour, to cancel all his programs in the state. He met the family members of the victim, Arjun Chaurasya. Amit Shah said there's a conspiracy to create an atmosphere of fear in Bengal.
एक साल समाप्त होने के बाद जैसे संदेश दे रहे हैं कि हम रुकने वाले नहीं। भारतीय जनता पार्टी हिंसा की राजनीति में ना विश्वास करती है, ना हिंसा की राजनीति से डरती है। हम कानून की अदालत में इतना सुनिश्चित करेंगे कि चौरसिया के हत्यारों को कड़ी से कड़ी सजा दे।
Earlier, Amit Shah held a meeting with BSF officers at Teen Bega in district in West Bengal. The Home Minister also planted saplings there. Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu has said educational institutes of the country should strive to become world-class. Addressing the 69th convocation of Punjab University in Chandigarh, the Vice President said universities should focus on patents under intellectual property rights to boost the economy and industry. The Vice President also presented honorary titles and Punjab University Ratna Awards to eminent persons on the occasion.
We must always harness the power of education and unleash the creative energies of young minds, hands and hearts. The new India we are dreaming of will be built on soaring aspirations and acquisition of new competencies. And the academic community of the universities must focus on achieving the excellence. That should be our priority and focus for the universities. More and more research papers, more and more patents.
Time for a short break here. On the other side, fast melting ice shelves are shrinking the natural habitats of polar bears.
वाइब्रेंट भारत केवल एक सांस्कृतिक कार्यक्रम नहीं,
देश की संस्कृति, विरासत और इतिहास का आईना भी है।
मनोरंजन के साथ साथ ज्ञानवर्धन।
त्योहारों, उत्सवों और कार्यक्रमों के जरिए
जोड़ता है देश की संस्कृति से।
संस्कृति, कला और साहित्य से जुड़ी और भी कई बातें। देखिए वाइब्रेंट भारत रविवार रात 9:30 बजे सिर्फ संसद टीवी पर।
Welcome back after the break. You're watching the news on Sansad Television. Now let's take a look at all the latest developments from the war front in Ukraine. In all the latest updates on the conflict in Ukraine, a senior Ukrainian official has said that fresh efforts are underway to evacuate civilians trapped with Ukrainian fighters in the Azovstal steelworks plant in Mariupol. No details were given and it was not immediately clear what stage the new rescue effort was at. The official said that information about the results will be provided later. The Hungarian Prime Minister said his country could not accept a European Union embargo on Russian oil. He added that such a step will be equal to dropping an atomic bomb on the economy. He also added that while his government is willing to negotiate on any European Union proposals that are in Hungary's interest, the country's geography and existing energy infrastructure make a shutdown of Russian oil unfeasible. Ukraine claimed that its forces have damaged a Russian frigate off the coast of the Odessa region. The frigate is known by the NATO reporting name Krivak. It was reportedly hit by Ukrainian Neptune torpedo near Snake Island in Odessa. Ukraine forces claim that Russian warplanes are circling above the ship and that vessels from the occupied Crimea are moving to rescue the crew. The Kremlin has slammed Poland for rhetoric that claimed is hostile to Russia. It said Warsaw could be a source of threat. Poland has urged the European Union to tighten sanctions on Moscow and call for a NATO to arm Ukraine in its fight against Russian forces that have poured into its eastern parts. A Russian diplomat has claimed that peace talks between Moscow and Kyiv are stagnant. He said the Ukrainian politicians are unwilling to continue the talks. Ukrainian President Zelensky has said he doesn't believe in the talks because the negotiating teams only discuss the possibility of him meeting Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin. However, Western media has reported that Putin decided a peace settlement was at a dead end after Ukrainian forces sank Russia's flagship missile cruiser Moskva on April 13th. Now, news from other parts of the world. News from other parts of the world. The Association of Southeastern Asian Nations convened a meeting on Friday in the Cambodian capital to organize humanitarian assistance for Myanmar. Organizers said the hybrid meeting included participation by video. It was attended by high-level representatives from Myanmar and other 9 member states of ASEAN, its external partners, United Nations specialized agencies, and other relevant international organizations. The effort is part of an attempt to revive a 5-point consensus on Myanmar reached in April last year by ASEAN. A jam-packed crowd of supporters cheered for Ferdinand Marcos Jr. on one of his campaign rallies in the Philippine capital. Marcos Jr. is the son and namesake of the late dictator who ruled the country for 20 years with an iron fist. His vice presidential running mate is Sara Duterte, the daughter of outgoing strongman President Rodrigo Duterte. Latest polls show both with seemingly insurmountable leads in their races that are held separately. Voting will take place on Monday. Australia's Defence Minister reiterated on Friday his country wants a continued strong friendship with the Solomon Islands, even though it has invited Chinese security forces there. China and the Solomon Islands agreed a new pact in April, allowing Beijing to have security presence on the Solomon Islands. Australia warned growing Chinese influence in the Pacific region was a concern not only for Australia, but also for other countries such as India and Japan. Residents in Mexico City marched, danced, and fired blanks from muskets on to celebrate the country Mexico's triumph in 1862 over the French in the Battle of Puebla. Mexican soldiers beat back Napoleon III's forces despite being vastly outnumbered. Mexico City's mayor was among those who attended a parade in the capital. She said she was celebrating the resistance of the people of Mexico and the indigenous people who fought against the most powerful army and won. US Chief Justice John Roberts has ordered an investigation into the leak of Supreme Court draft opinion on abortion. But questions are being raised about the high-profile investigation being assigned to a relatively unknown court official. While investigating, the court is not bound by any traditional restrictions on uncovering journalistic sources. But many experts say that bringing a criminal case would be extremely difficult. SpaceX brought 4 astronauts home with a midnight splashdown in the Gulf of Mexico on Friday. A ship picked up the Dragon space capsule off the Florida coast. The 3 US astronauts and a German exited about an hour later. NASA's Raja Chari, Tom Marsh-Burn, and Caleb Barron and European space agencies Matthias Moir were in the orbit at the International Space Station for about 6 months. All 4 came out waving and giving thumbs up as they were taken away for medical checks. Elon Musk's company has now launched 26 people into orbit in less than 2 years since it started ferrying astronauts for NASA. 8 of those 26 were space tourists. Polar bears will struggle to birth cubs and will longer roam on many of the Arctic regions they inhabit if global warming increases. According to scientists from the Norwegian Polar Institute, the global population of polar bears of around 26,000 will drastically reduce if the ice sheets keep receding.
In Norway, scientists recently discovered a precious sight, a female bear with 2 cubs, barely 2 days out of hibernation. Researchers from the Norwegian Polar Institute monitor their health and size. A female bear must be in good health to bear cubs. She must be well fed enough to sustain herself and provide sufficient milk to her young. This 11-year-old female weighs approximately 144 kilograms. Her cubs are just 7.5 kilograms. This year, the bears seem to be in good health. The ice sheet on which they depend is in better shape than in recent years. But long-term trend still shows ice is melting at a faster rate and the winters are not replacing it. Polar bears rely heavily on sea ice for traveling and hunting. They travel to the relatively shallow waters because there's more food. But retreating sea ice means less food for the bears in the future. And if the bears are forced further north, it also means they have to exert more energy to get to their hunting grounds. It is even more difficult for pregnant females. When they give birth, they need to be on land. And if the land does not give them food, there is even less milk for defenseless cubs. Extreme weather events have highlighted the problem of global warming, and more developed countries are aiming to cut carbon emissions. But the cuts fall short of what's needed to save polar bear populations in the worst affected areas. Scientists say adults are better equipped to survive, but for future generations of cubs, the future is uncertain. Bureau Report, Sansad TV.
Now, all the action coming from the sporting world. In cricket, in the 50th match of the Indian Premier League played at Mumbai's Bribon Stadium last night, Delhi Capitals defeated Sunrisers Hyderabad by 21 runs. Delhi, held by David Warner's 92 not out of 58 balls and Rovman Powell's 67 not out of 35 deliveries, put up 207 for the loss of 3 wickets. In reply, Sunrisers Hyderabad were in the game till Nicholas Pooran was there on the crease. Pooran scored 62 of 34 balls. Once Pooran got out, SRH got restricted and could reach 186 for 8. In news related to Asian Games, China's Foreign Ministry today declined to comment after the Asian Games scheduled to take place in Hangzhou in September was postponed until 2023 due to the COVID-19 situation. The 19th edition of the Multi-Sport Games was scheduled to take place from September 10 to 25 in the capital of Zhejiang province. The new dates for the Games would be announced in near future. Moving to tennis, world number 1 Novak Djokovic eased past Hubert with a routine 6-3-6-4 victory today to advance to the Madrid Open semi-finals as he bids for a 4th title in the Spanish capital. Djokovic looked much more like his usual self on a sunny day as he continued to work his way back towards top form ahead of the French Open, which begins later this month. The 34-year-old was given a walkover into the quarterfinals when opponent Andy Murray withdrew from their highly anticipated clash due to illness. Playing only his 2nd match after returning from a rib injury, a rusty Rafa Nadal called on all his experience, saving 4 match points to beat Belgian David Goffin 6-3, 5-7, 7-6 and move into the Madrid Open quarterfinals. The victory was the 1050th win of his career as he moved into a Masters 1000 quarter-final for the 99th time. Nadal is on court as we speak, playing against young Spanish sensation Carlos Alcaraz, who overcame Britain's Cameron Norrie 6-4, 6-7, 6-3, celebrating his 19th birthday in style. In football, Eintracht Frankfurt beat 10-man West Ham United 1-0 in their Europa League semi-final, second last leg last night, to reach their first European final in 42 years with a 3-1 aggregate victory. The German fans stormed the pitch after their team won the semi-final tie. A crowd of fans ran onto the pitch of Frankfurt's Waldstadion Stadium to celebrate Frankfurt's win. Before a wrap, here's a repeat of the headlines. World looking to India for solutions to challenges to global peace. At Jeeto Connect 2022 summit, Prime Minister Modi asserts that country is moving ahead to realize its full potential. Mysterious death of BJP worker prompts Union Minister Amit Shah to cancel all welcome events in Kolkata. Home Ministry tells state government to submit report. 1,537 projects worth rupees 6.5 lakh crore identified under the Sagarmala program. 802 projects to be completed by 2035. Vice President Venkaiah Naidu underscores need to make quality education affordable and accessible. Calls for efforts to tap creative energies of youth at the 69th convocation of Punjab University. Portals of Kedarnath Temple open to devotees. Temple lavishly decorated with 9 quintals of flowers on the occasion. That's all we have time for in this bulletin. Keep watching Sansad Television for more updates. Good night.